Tavia, thank you so much. Hi, Tavia, thank you so much. And hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So special welcome to the artists, the jurors, the AFJ, Open Society Foundation's representatives, and the entire Catapult family. My name is Andrea Dempster-Chung, and I'm the Executive Director of Kingston Creative. Now, Kingston Creative is an arts nonprofit organization founded in 2017, whose mission is to enable Caribbean creatives to succeed so that they can create economic and social value, gain access to global markets, and have a positive impact on our local communities. So over the past years, we've been focusing on 4 areas: developing an art district, empowering creative entrepreneurs, on advocacy to develop a healthy creative ecosystem, and also on strengthening our core operations so that we can do what we do better. We're really fortunate to have great institutional partners: the American Friends of Jamaica, the Open Society Foundations, the IDB, the World Bank, the EU, the Development Bank of Jamaica, and Tourism Enhancement Fund, just to name a few. And we're super fortunate to have support from over 100 volunteers, people in the diaspora, all of whom are committed to seeing us progress our cultural and creative industries. The problem that we are trying to solve is the paradox of this Caribbean region being so talented and world-renowned for culture, but yet still so poor in areas. Jamaica, for example, is home to reggae and some of the best-known stars in music and athletics. The city of Kingston has been designated as a UNESCO Creative City of Music since 2015. This island is a cultural superpower, producing world-class dance, music, literature, film, culture. But here on our island, economic growth is really, really slow. We struggle with high debt, low growth, unemployment, poverty, and crime, and our economy has been heavily reliant on tourism. So to recover and build back stronger from the impact of COVID-19, we will have to harness our competitive advantage of culture and find new economic drivers, our creativity and our culture. This is supported by good evidence, as the value of the global creative economy is US $2.253 trillion, and it generates approximately 29 million jobs. A recent World Bank study estimated that in the Caribbean, 1.9 million jobs are coming from the cultural sector. Creativity is an area where the entire Caribbean has a competitive advantage, but it's not yet really being used to convert our talent into growth. Culture can also generate employment, regenerate urban areas, support reduction in crime, which really plagues some of our islands. I say this to emphasize that what you as artists are doing is extremely valuable. It is the key to sustainable development and economic growth for the Caribbean region. So as I said, Kingston Creative started in 2017, and as COVID hit in 2020, we signed some agreements with the IDB and other partners so that we could build an art district in downtown, develop apps for e-commerce, offer free training and certification in business and digital skills, also build out a creative hub in downtown Kingston, a co-working space just for artists. We offer incubator programs, accelerator programs, and a host of different things. We also responded by launching the CATAPULT COVID-19 Relief Arts Grant, which is now in its 2nd year. So since the first edition in 2020 up to now, CATAPULT has delivered over $500,000 US, 530,000 to be exact, 81 million Jamaican dollars for those of us who are from Jamaica, to 1,535 artists across the Caribbean in the form of cash grants or capacity building support. I have to say it's one of the projects that we're most proud of. It's the first one that took Kingston Creative out of our borders through these partnerships to serve artists across the 4 linguistic regions of the Caribbean. Catapult, as you know, is a partnership between Kingston Creative, the American Friends of Jamaica, and the Open Societies Foundation. And in the first year, it also included Fresh Milk, an artist residency organization, an NGO, I believe, from Barbados. Artists are the undisputed heavyweights of the Caribbean. We send amazing music, dance, literature, film, and visual arts out into the world. And in addition to just lifting people's spirits, we also drive cultural tourism earnings back into the region. They come here for our culture. This year, by offering the relief grants, Catapult helped a community of artists from 23 Caribbean islands to further their practice by completing arts projects, securing space to produce work, managing living expenses, or even purchasing equipment. I have to say the advent of COVID-19, it's one of the biggest changes in external circumstances that leaders around the world have had to grapple with. The pandemic has radically shifted everything. Frankly, we've been over-reliant on tourism as a region, and we have been ignoring the big advantage that everyone else in the world can see, our culture. So in closing, I want to say, thank you to the Catapult team, thank you to our partners, thank you to you, the artists, for being here and for participating. And we are committed to forging more partnerships like this in the future so that we can continue to support people driving our cultural sector, you, the artists. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Andrea. And thank you to all the partners who have supported this impressive initiative, Catapult. We thank you so much for being a part of this, and we thank the artists for being willing to also accept this support. We have two of our speakers who would have been a part of the jurors for the Catapult, and we will invite them to have a conversation with us, to share with us what that process has been like. We have Sarah with us and Natalie, and I'd love to invite them to join us in a conversation to talk about what this has been like for them and to share some words with us in terms of how artists can continue to thrive in this time. Do we have Sarah with us as yet? And Natalie, we invite you to the spotlight, please.
Hello from the Cayman Islands. We're very close neighbors of you guys, so not too far away. And just wanted to start with saying, it's a real honor to be invited to be part of the jury for the second round of Catapult grants, having been a sort of viewer on the bystanders in the first year. And of course, during lockdown on a small island, feeling very cut off and I think isolated. I think beyond the grants themselves and the training, I think Catapult had really played a significant way of connecting us. I had the great honor to, again, interview two artists that I'd never met from Grenada and Jamaica. And it was just great to see so many networks being created when we were in these very, very isolated experiences. And I think that in itself can't be undervalued. I think one of the great benefits of this platform is bringing together people from across the region, both at a time when we need it most, but also to have an exchange of ideas, to forge new partnerships and collaborations and projects. And I think we're only starting to see some of those really come to the forefront now. You mentioned, of course, Fresh Milk, who have been doing great work in the region for many years in a very similar way with other platforms. But I think something that Catapult brings is this multi-layered way of engaging, from the training, from the art district. The training program itself is really remarkable. And again, it has a reach beyond Jamaica itself, which is very innovative in itself. So really just, I guess, with opening words so we can start a conversation. Thank you. It was also great as a museum director, curator. I have an art week program as well that we run. It was great to have access to sort of learning a lot more about a lot of artists and creatives from Jamaica, but of course across the Caribbean as well. And I hope that we can continue to forge partnerships and create opportunities for those artists.
Thank you so much, Natalie. And, we'd love to invite Sarah to the speaker, right? So we can just have an open conversation about what this has been like for both of you. Welcome as well, Sarah. Do you have any opening words before we start our conversation?
Sure, thanks, Tavia. And thank you, Natalie, for your words. I felt really honored, I guess, to be so close to seeing the entries and the people who applied for this grant. It just struck me that we've got such a wealth of creative talent within the region. And I always think when I see that, like, where does that talent go? Digital is one way. And through a database, through an app that we're developing for Kingston Creative, we want to give exposure to the artists. And so it comes in, exposure in itself comes in many different ways. So it comes online, but of course, we've all been stuck at our desks and at the computer. We want also to be able to see exhibits and to have a lively art district and a walking space and galleries and pop-ups and the like. So I think how I saw and how I've seen Catapult is this is the start of something that has a potential to be so robust as an opportunity. where we have much more, many more connections. Some, of course, that are virtual, but many that hopefully will be in person, and that we have much more excitement between the countries in the Caribbean. So I've just felt that it was an eye-opener for me to see all this talent and just how to showcase it through our channels, but also in the future through exhibit spaces and openings and shows, and to actually, you know, kind of put the visual arts as a form as much on the map as music and sports is. Like, I don't think outside of Jamaica, people have really in the past seen Jamaica as that powerhouse of kind of creativity in that way. But right now, when we look at these global art fairs and the Venice Biennial and the type of art that is being shown, you know, on an international level, we know we have it here. We just might not have the means right now. And this is the start to actually showcase it. So thank you to all the artists, because it was really wonderful to just go through portfolios, read statements of people's progress and what happened during this time of COVID, and how, you know, you were able to continue working and continue creating things, and how your practice might have shifted. And it was just a real delight to be able to, you know, speak with the jurors and the other panelists and talk about, you know, why it's so important for this grant to happen and what it can do to help the artists continue to keep making work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And I eventually tech support will be spotlighting all of us together so we can have a nice conversation. Oh, there we go. Beautiful. So welcome, Andrea, to our conversation as well. I wanted to, you know, just ask us what our thoughts are, you know, how has the pandemic really impacted us as artists in the space and our ability to work as, you know, cultural practitioners in the Caribbean space? I'd love for us to talk a little bit about that in our conversation. I'll throw it to anyone. Anyone can start us off.
Hi, guys. I think what would be really interesting is because as jurors, both Sarah and Natalie have actually been reading these applications, you know, and just in the reading of them and digesting of them, it has really hit home. I've only seen some of the excerpts, and even to me, you know, it's so evident. So maybe you could share as jurors, you know, what did you see in terms of artists' ability to operate, or how they were impacted? You know, what did you see personally as you were going through the applications?
I'll jump in. Okay,
Yes.
so, and there were a lot of applications. So I think that in itself really shows you the kind of outpouring of creativity kind of across the region. And lockdown was incredibly difficult for so many of us, but at the same time, it forced a pause, didn't it? And I spoke to many artists in my own island that were really prolific during lockdown, and then equally many artists that really had a creative block because of all of the challenges that were going on. So I think in total, we saw over 400 applications, and every single one of those was unique and diverse, which was, I think, one of the most exciting things. You know, all sorts of creativity were coming through in the application process. And I know that was something Catapult wanted to really encourage, was all aspects of these creative genres to apply for the grant. You know, there was a caveat in the grant that the work should speak in dialogue to the moment that we're in and other sort of pressing social issues. And I think a lot of our artists were responding to that quite naturally. I'm trying to think of some of the ones that jumped out. There was so many to see, and it was quite an intense period. But again, I think as Sarah said earlier on, such a wonderful opportunity as kind of art directors and curators to sort of be engaged with so many different people. So I think we certainly saw that the challenges around lockdown, we saw the need for the grant, and that of course opens up a much wider conversation as to how we're going to make this grant process across the region more sustainable, ongoing, because the need is continuing. And then we saw people that were using their art to really sort of have the moment to celebrate themselves as well, and have that time, I think, to work potentially in a more focused way than they had for many years because of multiple jobs and different responsibilities. So the pause, I think, had its benefits, even in the challenges. And I think we saw just an outpouring of creativity in these 400 plus applications.
I would really agree with that, Natalie, because there were some artists that I saw that were thriving. People who had film production companies, that type of artists, right? They absolutely thrived and doubled and tripled their business over the pandemic, over the 2 years, because people were forced to source their skill set. And then there's others who, on the artisan side, who, they were used to face-to-face cash payments. How I earn is at a fair. I have to see people, they touch what I have. And it was very, very difficult, which is why I think
absolutely
we went to actually offering to build websites, giving grants to build websites, because we understood just how critical it would be for them to have this kind of resilience where not only can I sell at an art fair, but I can also sell to the world digitally. Sarah, I don't know if there's anything that stood out for you in terms of, how the artists were impacted that you saw?
And I think without a doubt, every creative was completely impacted, particularly in March 2020 when it started. And when we look back on the 2 years, you could say, well, there was an enormous amount of learning that took place, and that probably every creative that I know in some way made a shift towards an online space, whether it's through e-commerce, whether it's through training or lecturing or some sort of online program, or whether it's even through their work in digital representation. So I think that is really, it's still going on now. Probably wouldn't be having this Zoom call with so many people unless we'd gone through 2 years of this. So I think that's just been kind of really interesting. And I think it's here to stay in many ways. It enhances our connectivity in the region and beyond. And it also has empowered a lot of artists to kind of create in new ways. So I think there was a pause, but most artists are quite, kind of thinking always about how to enhance their creativity and how to grow their product or their art. And so digital almost intersected just so well with creativity. It's like merged that, creativity and tech together. So I find, and where, art is really exciting is when that happens. So.
Absolutely.
You touched on e-commerce, and especially for certain artists or artisans who were used to face-to-face, what would you say based on your observation, or even the jurors, they take on for that for artists? What were there any challenges in moving from that face-to-face to that digital or e-commerce? What were your observations?
I think a lot of artists struggled with, are we supposed to build our own website? Because, there's, all these different tools and everything. Oh, it's so easy, set stuff in a weekend. And so, some of the questions are around, are we supposed to do it ourselves, or how did you do it? Did you hire someone? How did you get the funding? So there was that kind of thing. That still carries on today. There's a discussion actually in the WhatsApp group with the artists that work with Casey around, how you set up your website. So I think there was widespread acceptance, but there was really, am I an artist, or am I supposed to do everything? Am I supposed to be the business manager, the tech guy, the digital? Am I managing my socials as well? Like, when do I get time to do what it is that I do? So there's that. And of course, we recommend having teams, finding someone with a skill set if it's not you. And then, as we talk about this connection, this issue of this connection that has happened, it really brought into focus the need for this database. So on Catapult 1, we ended up just, we made an Instagram account so everybody could be there and their photos would be displayed. We also made a Facebook group so people could chit chat, and connect that way, because the first time we all got together to talk was really, really powerful. And now what we've done is working with the IDB to create something called the Caribbean Creative Network that launches next month. And this is, a database kind of for all types of artists, those who sell tangible products, those who have services, dance classes, whatever it is. So the Caribbean Creative Network is another platform that we're putting in place to make sure there's more resilience. Someone shouldn't have to phone Natalie to say, who's a good artist in the Caribbean? They should be able to just go to, the directory and have a look, see their portfolios and this kind of thing. So luckily, this group of Catapult awardees, all 436, even those who applied who weren't successful, they are all getting added to this database. And so we'll be kicking it off. All the Catapult grantees will be the first 436 on the database. So I'm really happy with that as an outcome.
That's amazing. And can you give us a preview of where we would be able to access this database? Is that information allowable?
No,
yet?
you'll have to follow Kingston Creative. You'll have to follow us
Come
on
back,
social. Follow us, but it's coming. It's coming. The launch is coming. We're just a little preview today, but no URL yet.
All right, that sounds very, very amazing. And you know, I'd love to hear from you. Before Catapult launched, were we seeing other opportunities like this in the space? And was that a reason to say, you know, we definitely need something like this? Even just in the Caribbean, were there other types of grants that we're seeing like this in the Caribbean? I'd love to hear from what you guys think. I would go to Natalie first, or Sarah.
I mean, I've actually, you know, before this conversation, been doing some searches to see what's out there. And, you know, I'm very familiar with, I was in the US for 20 years or so, so I'm very familiar with the amount of grants there are from national endowments for the arts and different funds and whatever. So I think that Catapult grant has been the first main grant that is out there. Like, I'm not seeing, there's one other one, Caribbean Fund, I think, something like that. So they're very few and far between. And I'm hoping that this is the start of more organizations coming on board and saying, here's a product that we can fund, you know, because it's not marketed, or it's a little bit secret. Whereas I think what was lovely about Catapult is that it, you know, it had a great marketing campaign. It's very visible, you know, it touched many countries, and there was a lot of excitement and energy, and there was a very particular outcome from it. Whereas, you know, I'm not seeing other opportunities currently like that. And I hope that there is a start to that now.
I think just to add, and as Sarah's right in many ways, I mean, there are grants out there, but they're often very nationally based. And I think this is what is the shift with Catapult, that it has a very regional view. And of course, we've all, I think in the creative sector for over a decade, we've been trying to look at ways to break down those barriers between countries, between languages, obviously with the 4 different linguistic areas of the Caribbean, which Catapult also serves. And I think really that's the very exciting component of this. And at the same time, it's not specific to one genre. So normally we'd see maybe a performing arts grant or a visual arts grant. And I think, again, this is what's sort of opened that up, and it doesn't pigeonhole people into one type of creativity. So I think that's another very exciting component of it. And I think the region was moving digital before lockdown. I mean, the collaborations have started. There's a lot of networking going on, and particularly in the visual art world that I work in, I think. But this really takes it to the next level, because it's one thing to meet and connect, but then to convert that into supporting e-commerce and knowledge and skill development, I think is the other really exciting component of Catapult.
Amazing. And I mean, Andrea, this is year 2. How are we looking in terms of carrying it further and further? What are we expecting to see as Catapult continues to emerge and continues to impact our artists?
Big questions. I think, well, first of all, I hope we're not needing a COVID relief grant next year. Okay, so we're not advocating for 3 years of this nonsense. So let that first be said. But I think we would have to understand that more broadly, there should be safety nets for artists. There should be safety nets for creatives. There should be sources of funding for you to, if there's an emergency personally, because it doesn't have to be a global pandemic. You can have an artist that, you know, gets very ill or is in dire straits, and there should be support for the creative sector. I think that will only come when we start to really recognize the value of artists, you know. So there's a little work to be done, but I'm hoping that this grant will no longer be, you know, it's COVID relief, let's, you know, put some towards the creatives, but really let's put something more robust in place, you know, across the Caribbean that really talks about nurturing people's practices and making sure that people are well and that kind of thing. I think that's the direction I would love to see it go.
I think, Andrea, taking that to a sort of regional level as well, I think one of the challenges that I've always found speaking to artists from, across the region is things like, as you said, healthcare, pensions. If you're a self-employed artist, you can't really get healthcare in
Exactly.
Cayman. I mean, that's the single most important thing to so many people, that we've all got healthcare as we grow older as well.
Yes.
So if Catapult could sort of build advocacy in different countries as well through friends and ambassadors in this great network that you're building, I mean, maybe there's more power through numbers to actually really get that conversation on the table. Because as you said, coming through lockdown, I think it was brought into really a stark light, but it's an ongoing situation that isn't changing. And just a personal, I think, experience that really shines a light on that. Our Ministry of Culture decided to give grants to musicians in Cayman, relief grants to musicians, but didn't consider the visual arts, which is what I work in, for no particular reason. It was just they were interested in music. So there was no consistency with the relief for creatives in our country. So I think that consistency is incredibly important as well for our governments, for our leadership, to really understand the full breadth of creativity rather than just one or other genre that might have a bit more visibility in that country.
Picking the winners, I call it, because they have a favorite child. It's either film and animation now, or it's this one, or it's music. And then, I totally agree with you. Creatives need to be able to self-define. If an artist wants to be called an artist, that's fine. If the boxes have to be done away with. So definitely a more inclusive approach to who we consider a creative, and actually really letting that term encompass a really wide spectrum of people. And as things shift, because it's an NFT artist an artist, there's no brush, paint, canvas, or tangible product. So we have to start really being a little more inclusive. I'd love to see it, and that just including everyone that self-defines as a creative.
Thank you. Any comments on that, Sarah?
I think that's what the database is going to be so exciting for, is that we can have all these different types of artists and make those connections and sort of dissolve those barriers. There are many artists you can't even define what category they live in. It's this sort of mixed media installation base. So it's all very new for here, and I think it'll be great. It'll be a great research and search mechanism. It'll be great for companies that are looking to hire creatives. It'll be a mutual, beneficial, awesome thing that we've never had before. Yeah.
We're looking forward to it. No pressure, Andrea, just excitement.
And let the universe work it out. Honestly, Catapult started with a tweet. Somebody just hit me, somebody from Open Society Foundations, Oro Frazier. He just contacted me and said, hey, let's do something about this, So things just evolve the way they're supposed to. They just unfold the way they should. So I'm not stressing about next year's Catapult, but I'm sure that it will all fall into place.
We all believe so. We'll hear from the artists later on, but I just wanted to find out if you have heard what their feedback has been like for the project so far that they've been a part of. If you have any feedback from them, we'd love to hear it from you before we go over to them and hear their words as well. So as a closing remark, you could share with us any feedback from the artists and any closing words from you as well. We'll start with Andrea this time.
Okay. In terms of feedback, I have seen some of the quotes, I've seen some of the videos, and I've been just so moved. Thank you to everybody who sent in a video. There's nothing like that connection, like seeing the person, and understanding what it is they were trying to do, that this grant has allowed them to do. It's really very powerful. So I've watched the videos, I've seen the testimonials. A lot of the feedback, is just about feeling validated as an artist. I have seen people on applications for other things saying, I'm a Catapult grantee. It's on people's resumes, so people are proud to be part of this. They're proud to be connected across the Caribbean. They're proud to have, gone through this highly competitive process. Like, I could not do the job that Natalie and Sarah and Simone and everybody else, Juan Francisco Pardo, I could not possibly do their job, but they did a very tough job and selected the best. And so people feel really validated by being a part of this. And I'm glad that that's an outcome. In addition to the financial help and everything else, we want artists to really feel valued. And so if we've hit that mark, I think we've done a good job. And big up to Khadija Chang. Khadija Chang is our project manager. Last year it was Karen Hutchinson. And I can't tell you, these two ladies are just powerhouses. They just absolutely organized everything, made it seamless. And, you know, one or two glitches maybe, but it has been really well done overall. And I'm so proud of them. So big up yourself, Khadija, wherever you are. I'm sure you're on the chat somewhere.
Thank you for helping us with the process too. It was a very smooth process as a judge.
Andrea, someone is asking, is it Marina? I hope I pronounced that correctly, where they can send a testimonial. So if you could please help us out with that, there will be lots of
something in the chat.
Okay, amazing. All right, we hand over to you, Natalie.
Well, I haven't seen some of the testimonials. I definitely want to see them, Andrea, so I'm going to be calling you to see those videos. But I do have artists in the Cayman Islands that have been recipients of both this year's Catapult grant and also, I would say I would accuse myself from, but and also the last year's residency, which I think was really transformative for the young artists that was involved. And, you know, just talking about validation, visibility, coming back to this idea of the websites and the sharing of the database, but also this idea of not competing, but contributing on a regional network. You know, it's one thing to be recognized within our countries, and our art scenes often know each other and they all compete for the same awards and grants, but having that extra international validation, I think, in this case is very exciting as well.
Thank you so much. Sarah.
I think, you know, this grant was just really wonderful for the artists also because they didn't necessarily, in this instance for this year, have to produce anything with it. And I think that was key. It was like a grant of generosity in a way, which relieves the pressure. And I think that is really important. It's like, look, we've got a second year of the grants. Here it is, just for you submitting, having a quality of work, having a circumstance that was, you know, needed this, you know, this fund. And I think as the type of grant, that's just must have been really appreciative from the artists, but also it just felt really good to be able to give out those grants. And but I do remember last year seeing these lovely brochures and magazines that were produced. They were lovely. Just, I think Onika Russell was writing part of them and piecing them together, but just having that as a record of who those artists were, their work, their stories, and just that production, they're really great. So I'm looking forward as well to seeing the testimonials and videos coming out of this scene.
Thank you so much. Thank you to your jurors and Andrea for joining us and sharing these amazing experiences with us. We're looking forward to Catapult 3, 4, 5. Going on. No pressure, no pressure. Just excitement and support for amazing artists. We are going to be hearing from them. So I'd love to invite our artists here to share with us their own experiences. I'll have tech support pin them. We're not saying bye-bye to you or beautiful jurors, but see you later. And we invite our artists to have a say. We have 5 or so of our artists here with us this afternoon to share their own experiences of being a part of the Catapult grant, what it's been like for them. We'd love for them to introduce themselves to us and share with us the importance of artists being a part of these types of initiatives. I'm going to ask first, Ayana John, I believe she's here with us from Barbados. I'd love to invite her to share with us her experience being a part of Catapult. I see you there, Ayana. If tech support,
Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
There are 2 dates that will always be in my mind forever. March the 9th, 2020 and September the 25th, 2021. I was out of work for that period of time. That was about, like a year and a half of nothing. I had to basically live off of my savings, some government support. I am a full-time artist. I do the hotel circuit in Barbados. So when COVID hit, obviously, all of us who do the circuit, we were out of work. We were not making, as you said, before that, face to face, you know, which is so necessary for our business. We lacked that. And when I got accepted for the grant, I was like, yay! Because the year before, the period of time that I wasn't working it, when you were on the hotel circuit, you're singing covers. I've always had my own songs, but that was my bread and butter. And it really got me into a headspace where I could kind of get in touch with my art again. So I decided to get back to my love of reggae music. I always loved it, but I just never, and it was highly in demand, but because there was so much public pressure, I just felt like very, very, you know, I didn't feel motivated to continue. So because of the time off, I was able to kind of get more in touch with my creative. But I promised myself, I said, I'm going to do a reggae album. I'm going to do it. So I started to just write, get ideas out. I was listening to all my favorite artists like during the time off. And because of that, I was able to get back in touch with my love. And when the grant came, I said, I know exactly what I'm going to do with you. So I invested in a song, and it's called Dreaming. And the song is out now, and you can hear it, and people love it. It's playing a lot here. And we want to do a video for it. And yeah, push forward. Yeah, send the link too, please. Okay, great. Thank yes, I will. I know I was sent a couple questions. I do reggae, dancehall, pop music. And I think during the pandemic, I couldn't be at the ceremony, but I won Best Reggae Artist at the Lady Flavor Awards in Connecticut, USA. And yes, but you know, because of COVID, it had to be online. And I think it's really important that we invest. I find that we're in a situation where Caribbean people play an important role on the mainstream, but we're not going to be able to really benefit from it unless we have the framework and I would say the infrastructure in order to be able to benefit, because it really is about having, you know, good ideas, and it's really about being able to understand how to profit off of your creative. So you have, you know, there's been a history where artists have been exploited for years. They're the ones that, you know, create all the music and put all the wonderful ideas, but they don't have the business sense. So I think it's really important for us as artists to not just be able to create, but to understand what we have, what it's worth, and to be able to find out more about how we can get those systems into our lives so that we don't get taken advantage of. So I really believe it would help if we have, you know, help from regional institutions who have that knowledge. For example, for example, Catapult would have that knowledge, would have people who understand about websites, digital web design, so that we can collaborate. You know, I have the creative, but you have the technical. So I think, you know, more collaborations are necessary, because we can't expect the USA or England or the UK to care about us if we don't care about us ourselves, first of all. Yeah, so I mean, I've had as I said, it's been a rocky road, but I really appreciated the help, and it felt good that I had, you know, funds there that I could, you know, get the ball rolling. So I really appreciate it. So thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much, Diana, for sharing your experience. And please remember to drop the links to your music in the chat so we can all support you. Thank you so much for sharing that.
I appreciate it.
Let's hear from Christina Williams from Jamaica. If Christina is with us, I'd love to invite you to share your own experiences being a part of these Catapult grants as well. Hi, Christina, welcome.
Hi. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this. So I just want to big up the Kingston creative team, the Catapult grant team, and everyone who was involved, judges, and, you know, the awardees. So it's a great honor. My name is Christina Williams, and I also go by the stage name Antonia Valier. They're all my names. So Christina Antonia Valier Williams. That's kind of what makes me unique. I didn't have to like make up a stage name. I already had one. Kudos to my mom for that. So I'm from Jamaica, and I'm from Portmore, and it's in the parish of St. Catherine. I'm a poet, I'm an author, I'm a self-publisher, I'm a spoken word artist, yeah, everything creative. So I also am a graduate of UWI. I studied history and philosophy. I also graduated recently from VTDI, which is Vocational Training Development Institute, and I studied entrepreneurship. And I'm also in a class, social media, which is organized by Kingston Creative with Heart. Yeah, so I'm really taking on, guys, I've been having a discussion about the business side of things. I learned that that you need to, know the business. So I've been doing that. And so I have 3 books that I'll just show you very quickly that I published. Pearls Among Stones is my first one. I've won 2 national awards for it. One of them is the Prime Minister's National Youth Award. Let me show you real quick. So I won it in 2014. And then I published Black Gold, Out from Babylon System, Liberation of Mind. And today, they had their book launch. So this is Miss Lou. I'll talk more about her. So my poem is in this book. This is a very iconic book, and it's a great honor to be a part of it. So I was actually over there in their Zoom meeting, then jump over here. So I've been jumping from meetings to meetings, to be honest. From this morning, I've been in the UNESCO meeting. So, and then I'm going to leave this and then go to another meeting 4 to 7. So, I mean, yeah, it's a tough day. In terms of how I was affected, let me just like give a synopsis of how I was growing. So most people know me as an author, I write books and stuff like that. But I did a school tour organized by Malachi Smith. So it's a poetry school tour. I went to schools, like different schools in Jamaica, and performed, and the students were inspired and they would share their works and stuff like that. But I wasn't really known as like a spoken word artist. But a lot of elderly poets, they would see me and they would be like, girl, you're writing the books, that's good, but you need to go out there on the stage. You need to get the experience. And that's where the money is at also. So I was like, whoa, I'm not very good at that. But I was encouraged by elder poets like, Malachi Smith, Yusuf Safari, Cherry Natural, some of the poets, even Muta Baruch and others. And so this school tour really was about to expose us to the schools and really to inspire school children, because the truth of the matter is poetry, as important as it is and as a oral tradition, it's not one of those recognized genre, especially in Jamaica. Most I tell people that you're a poet, they'll be like, oh, that's nice, it's an hobby. They don't actually see it as something like a career or something that you can build on, or something that you can get employment out of. So people have a very a certain view about it. So generally, when you tell people that you're a poet, they're like, that's nice. Maybe if when you tell them that you're an author or you go on stage, you might see it as something awesome. So so I went on the school tour, and I would consider it to be one of my breakout moments, because in the year 2018, I really branched out. The other poets, they encouraged me. And they were like, yeah, girl, you really, stood up, and I got strong, actually. And I didn't realize that I had that voice and I could, perform, and I learned so much. And then when I joined BTDI, they had a drama group, and I joined. And then Joel, who's a creative director, he just put me on spot, and he's like, he read my book, and he was like, you need to study this poem. By next week, you need to know it. And I'm like, this dude, what is he doing? Like, he's putting me under pressure. Funny enough, that poem Silence that I did, that I had to study. So I did Silence, and it was well done. I also did it on See Them at Sunrise, and then Kingston Creative. Kingston Creative, I'm going to be up. So I did that poem. They had a virtual art walk, and I submitted that work, and that was featured on Kingston Creative. So, and from there on, I thought, whoa, I'm growing and this is an awesome year. So I'm thinking 2019 going to be awesome as well. And, it started very awesome because I started being booked on shows, stuff like that. And it was just a good moment. By the time the pandemic hit, you know what happened. Shows that I was booked on to perform on, for example, this Fun Festival by Rastakura. It's organized by Rastakura. And I've been on it before, but I've never been like an invited guest to be paid. So this time around, I was invited to be paid. We were talking about arrangements. So I'm looking forward to it. I also, there were other shows that I was looking forward to, like Calabash. And I had another show in St. Elizabeth. So there was shows coming up on shows. As you know, the pandemic hits, everyone canceled. So I was like, I don't know what next. Now, some shows required that we went online. And as a result, of course, there was no payment. I only had I believe 2 shows that I could be paid. And one of them was in Portugal. So that was good. After that, so when I signed up for the grant, it really came timely because I was going through so much things, pandemic, it brings on a lot of sadness, pain and stuff like that. You couldn't pay your bills. I was thinking a lot about that. And to be honest, when I saw that I was accepted, Aaron, as she said, whoa, I mean, it really lifted my spirit. Not only my spirit, but it also lifted my family's spirit because everybody just felt down. So when I shared it with my mom, my brother, they were so excited. So it even, bring up my family spirit that we were excited about, me continuing creatively. And in the process of that, paying bills and stuff like that financially, I also helped others because I had a poet friend, I won't call his name, but he fell on hard times. And so, that grant really came timely because I just told him, don't worry, I have some money I'm going to share with you because that poet, every show that I've ever been to, he has carried me to those shows and he has never charged me or anything like that. And even when he's invited to a show and I'm not on it, he will carry me along, as I held a poet and, to, get me that exposure on the stage. And so when he told me that he had a hard time, I was like, I could assist. So this grant wasn't for me alone. It was for others that I could help. And in terms of my family, I could, pay some of the bills, electricity and stuff like that. I bought a phone because my mom didn't have a phone, so I bought her one. But here's the good thing about this. It also assisted me because my phone don't have much space. And so as the pandemic hits and everything went online, I know was faced with in terms of, for years I left my YouTube and didn't even care about it. I know it's hard. As an artist, I should really, but it's hard to keep up with social media sometimes, with life and schoolwork and stuff like that. But as the pandemic hits, all of a sudden I realized, well, social media is the place to be. And so I went on my YouTube channel, started, changing everything about it, improving it. And, her phone came timely because I was able to now dishing out a lot of videos. I'm also learning to edit videos, things that I've never done. I started learning to edit videos, using the different apps. And, right now I have several videos out and I had like 20 odd subscribers. Now I'm hitting like 140 odd subscribers. So just to show you how the grant really came time in terms of doing so many things for me. And I also, in terms of like the spoken word side of me, it has grown and I was able to win around 3 awards. And I'll just show you 2 of them real quick. So this one is International Poet of the Year, and it's from Poet Organization, stand for People of Extraordinary Talent. I hope you can see my shirt. That's Poet. And that was in Chicago, and I won another one in New York, just to show you. In terms of—
Oh, that's so amazing, Christina. I mean, I know all of us here are feeling very emotional. by everything that you're sharing and saying. So we want to thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. We want to also have you drop any links in the chat where we can find any of your work, your YouTube that you are building up. We want to jump on as well so we can get those subscribers going and going.
Yes.
Please share those links with us in the chat. And we thank you so much for sharing that heartwarming experience with us. And we thank Catapult for allowing you to help others as well. So that was so amazing. So thank you so much, Christina. And we're looking forward to seeing the great things that you continue to do in the space as well. We're going to move to Can you guys hear me? I've been muted. Okay, perfect. Amazing. So I was saying that we are going to be inviting Kevon from Trinidad and Tobago to share his experience with us as well. And Kevon, when you join me, I'm going to ask for your help to pronounce your last name, please. Please.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Kevon Fotheringham. So it's exactly the way it's spelled, Fotheringham. Yeah, very phonetic. Firstly, thank you. You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me, and definitely thank you for the grant and for the opportunity. It really meant a lot. Coming from, well, my background is really in arts administration. So it's a completely different hat for me now, being granted something from my own work. So I am the executive director of an NGO called For Common Good. It focuses on amplifying the power of the arts to affect social change and also the power of cultural exchange. So we host a lot of capacity developing programs for creators where they get to learn about that power of social change and the arts, but also they get to learn through exchange with their foreign counterparts. So it's really exciting. And I'm the founder of East Yard, which is Trinidad's, I would say, foremost East-based creative hub. And I've been doing that for the past 5 years. Collaboration is the new currency. One of my colleagues always says that, and I'm happy that I'm scrolling through here, and most if not all of the Trini artists who are online now, I have worked with or either supported in some way. So having said that, during the pandemic, all of my programs were forced online. So I was still able to carry on all of my training and stuff. So me personally, I was not impacted in terms of finances because my programs could have still run. But one of my side hustles that I would say is personal brand coaching. So I've been a personal brand coach for several years, and my focus has been on creatives solely. So over the years, I've worked with a lot of creatives to help them refine their brands and so amplify their work. And that is costly. So they had to pay a big sum for that one-on-one kind of help. But the pandemic hit and a lot of creators were home, and I decided, why not offer this training online for free? And I decided to do these group workshops. So normally my workshops would be one-on-one, but I decided to do these group workshops where local and international creatives came on board, and they were with me for like a month or so. And we went through an intense personal branding exercise that ended with a personal brand visioning document where they aligned their passions, proclivities, and purpose to their job, to whatever they wanted to do. And what was amazing is that those first 8 persons who took part in that cohort all revamped or either launched their new creative businesses by like 2021. So I saw how effective it was. What made it more effective than the one-on-one sessions was that this was group, this was like community. So everybody had accountability partners and everybody could have like collaborated, and these fantastic creative projects were being launched. So fast forward to November of last year, I kept doing these workshops for free or for a very nominal cost, but now I could do it in person. And the material that was coming out of these workshops, because I mean, you have a room full of creatives who are here talking about their passions and goals and values and wants and needs. And they had these exercises where I gave them materials to create messages and artwork and stuff that represented this. And I thought, wow, this is so powerful. I mean, people were moved. So how could I take this now and make it into something more? And I decided that it had in some way to become an exhibition. It had to in some way move from just being local to being regional even. But then how? And there was also a bit of imposter syndrome there. Having like sought funding and stuff to help other artists for all these years. I've never seen myself as an artist, even though I have done jewelry, I've done fashion design, I have dabbled, but there still was this imposter syndrome. Am I really an artist or am I an arts facilitator? And now I realize that there is no difference. So being granted, it has really validated me. So literally in the last few weeks, something I have put on hold for years, I have started writing my book. So I'm really putting myself out there now as opposed to just being the person in the background. So this grant came along. I didn't think that I would get it, but I was like, you know what? Why not? Why not apply for something for me? And yes, I got it. So fantastic. Thank you. And now I'm going to use that as sort of seed money. And I have a series of workshops lined up locally where I'm going to be able to now get a videographer, pay him a nominal fee, be able to document the process, be able to give the attendees a meal. I mean, I have asked them to, you know, contribute a little bit, so I mean, so that you could get like a T-shirt and stuff. It's all about branding, and we're going to create something really fantastic. So it's going to be probably a mini documentary. All of their work is going to be used in the next session. But it also gave me the confidence now to reach out to my international and regional partners. And this I Am is becoming a movement. So in August, this is the first time I'm saying it, we're doing a version of this in St. Kitts. And then in October, we're doing it in St. Lucia. And eventually, I mean, it's going to become, with all this information, all these mini documentaries and stuff, we're going to create something that is so fantastic. It's going to be a compilation of affirmations and goals and values of creatives from across the region. So I think it can be something really powerful. And just excited to be spearheading this for myself. Over the pandemic, I also took some time to launch a podcast where I was interviewing creatives from around the world who are making an impact in the arts for social change space. And I'm hoping to reach out to them as well to get this I Am experiment, this I Am movement going. So I really can't wait. Yeah. Thank you
so much, Kevon. I'd love for you to share some links with us in the chat of where we can find your work and the work and come, so we can be a part of it. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. And next we will invite Taja Winkle from Jamaica to share their experience with us as well. Thank you for joining us. I wait for tech support to bring you to the spotlight.
Hi, everyone. Hi. So my name is Taja Winkle. I am a 2D animator and freelance illustrator from Jamaica. Primarily my work involves a lot of children's books. So far I've been illustrating a lot of children's books about Black positivity, about loving your hair, loving your skin, and accepting yourself. But also my personal work as well involves a lot about women and people with feminine presenting bodies and how they are able to see themselves without the male gaze or without the gaze of patriarchy. So when I do these paintings, it's usually with women who are just simply existing in a space without the need to present themselves a certain way for the viewer. So that's primarily what my work focuses on. And my animation work focuses on the human experience. The latest thing I've done was a student film, which was about my experience in the pandemic and just reconciling with the fact that I was graduating. I was supposed to be making my way in the world while at the same time feeling as if the world was going to end. So the Catapult Arts Grant has really come at a great time for me because during the pandemic, I became very sedentary, and with that sedentary lifestyle came a lot of health issues that I was not expecting to pop up, because I would be seated at my computer for hours at a time, doing both schoolwork as well as freelancing, because I was doing both at the same time. And because of all those different health things that popped up, you know, along with that comes medical expenses as well. So I was paying for that out of the money that I was using to freelance. And at first, it wasn't as difficult because the freelance work was going quite well. But then there was a dry season and I ended up having to dig into my savings a lot more. And around that period of time, I realized too that if I wanted to grow my freelance business, I had to upgrade my equipment, I had to upgrade my software. And with all these different conflicting things that had to happen, I realized that the money that I had now was not actually very sufficient. So I applied for the Catapult Arts grant. I wasn't very sure if I would get it because I still felt very new in this space, despite doing a whole lot of things with myself. I still felt very new to this space, and I felt like I wasn't as established as I should be to get this type of grant. So when I did get it, it was such a relief. And it was also extremely validating for me because it felt like there were people out there who saw what I did, who saw that I was doing a lot of good things as well and wanted to support that. And it was extremely touching for me and very exciting too. So with that money, I was able to put it towards upgrading my equipment as well. Just very, very helpful because the equipment that my work runs on is very expensive, unfortunately. So it really does help a lot. And I think in general too, this grant came at a perfect time because I know that a lot of my colleagues as well were struggling in this space. We were bemoaning the fact that a lot of our equipment is very expensive, or in the case of the students who I was part of during that period of time, because we got forced to come home so quickly, we no longer had access to the facilities of the university during the pandemic. So a lot of us were scrambling to get the software and to get the equipment and really digging into our savings. So this really did come at an amazing time. And I also agree as well with what Andrea said, that this opportunity to really invest in the arts instead of just relying on tourism is extremely sustainable, especially the arts, the parts of the arts that I am in. It's mostly digital based, so there aren't a lot of heavy costs associated with like a large setup in terms of like a physical space. Most of it is digital and it is extremely sustainable in that way. And I am very glad that Kingston Creative and the Catapult program has recognized that and decided to invest in it. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Taja, for sharing your experience with us as well. We're delighted to hear from you and how it has impacted you as well. Finally, we're going to be hearing from Joanne Hillhouse from Antigua and Barbuda. Joanne, I invite you to the spotlight to share your experience with us, please.
Hi, good day, everyone. I'm from Antigua and Barbuda. My name is Joanne Hillhouse. I refer to myself as #Gal from Artists Antigua. That's my branding, because that's my home base and that's everything that I take with me wherever I go in the world. I am an author. I've been doing this for a while. I'm an author. I have 7 published books, one of which came out during the pandemic, which is not something you kind of want to happen, but that was a children's book with HarperCollins. And so all of everything, I haven't had any launch for it, everything for that has happened online. I also do, freelance writing is what I've been doing for a number of years, freelance writing, freelance editing. So most of my work during the pandemic has been editing projects. And the staggering that has happened with that is people sometimes just can't pay, or I have, when this last grant came in, I had one client who's been, not like every month, not paying, not able to pay on. So basically the the grant came in as just a financial relief to help me deal with some bills at the time. And I think that's something that people don't recognize with artists, especially with Caribbean artists, where everything we do is seen as a hobby. And I think more so for certain types of artists than others. Writers were invited to do this, to do that, to do that. And if you, but I mean, I've been doing this long enough. At this point, I'm bringing up what's the compensation, because it is my business. It is how I make my living. It is how I pay my electricity, get water, everything. So I have to, even if it seems like I'm just being, I don't know, a Philistine or whatever, which is how some of it is perceived in our region. I am extremely grateful to the Catapult Arts Grant, because you guys did something and stepped into a space that was empty. There was, in my experience, in my years of doing this, every fellowship, grant, whatever I've had to apply for has been out extra-regional. When the pandemic hit, artists were kind of left floundering. What are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to, you know, pay our bills and all of that? And I think that Catapult has kind of reinforced the idea. One, created a network of artists. I've enjoyed the salons. I've enjoyed reading the blog postings by the various artists. I've enjoyed discovering the work of other artists who I might not have otherwise been aware of, especially beyond the English-speaking Caribbean. I like that it is multi-language. In my own, with the first grant, because this is my second time here, and I really appreciate that. I didn't think I stood a chance getting a second grant, but with the first one, I did a sort of reintroduction of my YouTube channel and myself, kind of harnessing all my social media, sharing my work, sharing my experience, my journey as a writer in publishing, and because I'm not self-published, I'm published with, you know, various publishers. And what I've found has happened with the channel since then, because I was just checking before I came on. As a freelance writer, I write for other people, but I also create content myself. So for instance, I have my blog. I have a book review series on my blog. I have a column that runs in the local newspaper that also runs on my blog called Creative Space, which is about art and culture, Antigua and Barbuda, and also the wider Caribbean. And I used to do that instinctively anyway with the blog, but now I'm doing it more as well with the column, which is intended to be a generator of income as well. And the column is now on the YouTube platform as well. So I do interviews with other artists locally and regionally through the column. I've actually written about Catapult in the column because I said they're walking the talk, kind of trying to call out some of my own people locally and, you know, in the sub-region for not doing more of that walking. But artists need support, and artists need sometimes resources just to create, just to have the space and the time to just be and let the imagination flow, let the brain clear out. That is the challenge. That's why a lot of artists, especially the artists that you see not creating during this period, it's just that the mind is so crowded with bills and with worries about the state of the world and everything. And sometimes you can channel that into the art, and sometimes you're just frozen. And Catapult has stepped into the space and say, let us help you a little bit with this. And not as a charity or you're begging or anything like that, but as a reinforcement of what you do. And that is valuable. That is valuable and affirming to me as an artist who's been doing this for a while. And I'm glad to say for the other artists who are now stepping into that space. So it is extremely, extremely valuable. As I said, Creative Space is growing. I have so many other ideas of other things I'd like to do. I would like to see more grant opportunities. I only wish that I had been aware of the residency grant, so I could have applied for that, to just have some time to sit down and write. But I'm not gonna, you guys are doing amazing work, and I and other artists, I think, will continue to try to do amazing work. I won't say anymore. If you have questions for me, I'll answer them, but I am Joanne C. Hillhouse, writer from Antigua and Barbuda, creative, and even if it never pays me another cent, writing is how I process life, and so writing is what I do every day if I'm able to do it. But also writing is how I make my living. And so this grant has been reaffirming and supportive in terms of meeting some bills, getting some space, putting the work out there more, and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Joanne, for inspiring us. Thank you for sharing your own experience with us as well. The only question I have for you is to please drop your handles in the chat with your hashtags and everything where we can find your work and connect with you. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you to all the artists who shared with us. Thank you for sharing your beautiful experiences with us. It was very moving. I'm happy to see everyone connecting in the chats, dropping their handles, their websites, their links. Please continue to do that so that all of us can connect with each other. And, of course, continue the collaboration. I'll open the floor for a few minutes. I see a lot of positive comments in the chat. I open the floor, invite anyone who'd like to speak and share their own feedback from what we've been talking about, any encouragement for the artists, any words that you yourself have also benefited from. I'll open the floor. I'll ask tech support to support me with unmuting you if you'd like to speak. So the floor is yours. Don't be shy. You can come to the spotlight with me. I see a hand raised. I'm not able to pronounce that name. However, I will ask tech support, please, to unmute the first hand you're seeing at the top. There you go. Welcome. Welcome to the next. Could you tell me your name, please? Introduce yourself to us.
My name is Isha Ori, and I am a visual artist from Jamaica. Listening to everyone, the artists, talk about their experience with the Catapult grant is very inspiring. And I just wanted to add to that as well. I won't be long. In 2019, I did a show. The way how I became an artist is very unorthodox. And I did a show in 2019, and I remember someone telling me that I would never make it. Art is not for me. And I was disheartened at the time because the person who said it is someone important to the art industry. And I stopped doing art for a period of time. By the time I decided to be brave enough to start again, the pandemic happened. And it's like everything came crashing down, and I thought this was the universe telling me to stop. But for some reason, I could not stop. It's like air. I don't know how else to explain it, but this doing art is something I just can't stop doing. And I continued. And I applied for the Catapult grant at a period when I decided, hey, this is the type of artist I want to become. This is what I will be doing. And I'm just going to close my eyes and go for it, which is to create a body of work, a series, an oil painting series that describe the socio-normative issues of child abuse, not just physical, but child abuse in psychological ways. That's what I'm trying to do in my art. And I also want to show the women we become as, coming from abuse, and the women who break from that as well. And in the middle of creating that series, I go, oh my God, this is so expensive. What am I going to do? I could not purchase materials needed to complete the grant. It was something that, again, took me to a disheartening period. And then when Catapult accepted me, it's like a validation that I did not expect. It was one of those things pushing me to continue. And it came at a time where I feel like there was somebody hearing me scream out to push forward for this. And I really wanted to thank Catapult and American Friends of Jamaica for selecting me, because it has allowed me to buy the necessary tools I need to complete I literally bought all the tools I needed to complete the series I'm trying to create.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And we are so grateful that you were able to benefit in that way. So thank you so much. Please drop your handles in the chat if you haven't done so already.
Absolutely.
Share with us any links where we can find your work so that we can support you. Thank you for sharing with us. I see Kyle and Neela. You have your hands up. I'll go for Kyle first, and then we'll go to Neela. So I'll ask tech support, please, to assist us with unmuting. There you go. Welcome.
Hi, well, thank you. So I'm Kyle Grant. I'm the editor-in-chief of We Lifestyle Magazine, or WI, which stands for West Indian Lifestyle Magazine. And I'm very happy to hear the testimonies from the different artists, including Isha at the end there. At the end of last year, 2021, I made a decision that would change my life. Basically, I gave up all streams of income, work, everything, which is kind of crazy in the middle of a pandemic. But I think I was guided to it. I think we're Caribbean people, so kind of understand what I mean. Spiritually, I was guided towards this decision. My parents, family, similar to Isha's story, people you care about, they told me, you made a terrible decision. It doesn't make sense. Honestly, it doesn't make sense. I'm a logical guy and it doesn't make sense. They are right. But the first thing that I did this year was apply for the Catapult grant. And being a grantee in my field, you all used the word earlier, validated that decision. You can see me in red, white, and black. I'm a Trini, but I want to see myself more as a Caribbean citizen. And I think Ayana mentioned it a couple of times that we should work on the framework and appreciate ourselves first as Caribbean people before being accepted or acknowledged by the rest of the world. So I know we have time constraints, so I'm just going to say that you could follow We Lifestyle Magazine, and I'll give you all a free spot, free, F-R-E-E. Yeah, we love that in the Caribbean, free stuff. We give you a free spot on our social media and an opportunity to be advertised in We Lifestyle Magazine so we could build our content. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Kyle, and thank you for that freebie. We gladly accept. Please share with us how we can be a part of that. You can share the handles or the links in the chat for us to be a part of it. Thank you so much. And we have Neela. We'd love to hear from you as well. Please, tech support, bring her to the spotlight. I saw her and then I don't see her again. Until Neela comes forward, we want to just thank everyone so far for sharing your thoughts with us and how you benefited from this grant. It's been so amazing. It's been so inspiring and moving. I see Neela, are you still with us? We'd love to hear from you. I saw your hand raised. I see you waving. Okay, there you are. Tech support, can you unmute her? Okay, welcome, finally.
I'm here. Oh, wow. Listen, I just want to big up Catapult and all of the partners. I watched on the sidelines when it started because I was deep in trying to retrofit a curriculum to go online for the dance students in my care at tertiary level. So I wasn't able to jump in. But I saw, and I'm just really glad to be a part of the 2022 cohort. I want to thank Catapult in particular for having a grant that is for us makers who are over 35 years of age. Now, listen, I work with youth. I love young artists. I love young creatives, let me tell you. But at heart, I'm also still young in a way. There are things I'm still learning. There are things I want to try to be able to learn to do. And I think intergenerationality is very, very important. And I think if Catapult can make sure to keep that as part of its mandate, because the things we can learn from the upcoming generations and the things that they can learn from us, I mean, that can only, stand the Caribbean in good stead in terms of remembering that we are, as Lloyd Best from Trinidad said, our own first world. I think Catapult has helped us to be able to see that, and the intergenerationality is very, very important. So I look forward to, I give thanks for the kind of time and space it is allowing me for, I have so many ideas. My book of ideas is well overflowing, but but I have so many different generations of artists that I want to be able to use this grant to work with to get those ideas to come to life. So big up yourself. And I thank you once again for the opportunity during this time.
Thank you, Neela. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us as well. And please, as I've asked everyone else, I'd love to see your handles in the chat, your links where we can find your work so that we can all connect with each other. This has been such an amazing networking event. And I want to thank everyone for being so open and vulnerable and sharing all their experiences with us so that we can all be inspired as creatives. Of course, we would love to close out by getting some closing remarks from some very important people. I'm going to read a statement for you from Aura Fraser from Open Society. He sends his apologies, but I will read the statement that he has sent to us. Open Society Foundations is privileged to support this second edition of the CATAPULT initiative. In times of COVID, Caribbean artists, their families, and their work continue to be impacted in multiple ways, having a detrimental effect on the whole of our societies. We look forward to continuing to support artists and artist organizations in the region. We thank Aura Fraser so much for that heartwarming statement. And we want to also ask Viral Coupe from Open Society to share with us her words and any closing remarks as a partner of this grant. Welcome, Viral, to the spotlight. We'd love to hear from you. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Hi, Tavia. Thank you. And thank you to Kingston Creative for inviting me to join in this presentation. The Catapult grant, I too have been observing it from the sidelines, but it has been a very inspiring experience for a number of reasons. I mean, one, to see the need for Caribbean region-based funding support for the arts. Two, to see and to hear, especially today, how the grants have supported and empowered artists to do what they can do in a time of great uncertainty and pressures. And I'm very glad to hear that probably something more permanent will come out of it. But also, I think something that is very important for what I'm working on is this idea also of building a community, of building a network, of building new collaborations, right? So right now I'm working as a project manager for the Caribbean Culture Fund, which is a new organization, which is at the present time funded by Open Society Foundations, although we are working on bringing other funders on board also. So eventually it will become a coalition of funders. At present, we operate out of Le Centre d'Art in Port-au-Prince in Haiti, and we will launch operations very, very soon. I cannot disclose the date at this time, but we're very close to that point. And we will launch operations with additional fundraising, as well as with our first call for submissions. So the Caribbean Culture Fund is primarily going to be a grant-making organization that supports first and foremost creation. So the foundational thing of supporting creation is first and foremost on our mind, with fairly substantial grants. I mean, we're looking at probably 5,000 to 10,000 for individual artists, and a little bit more, probably up to 20-25 for collectives and organizations. There would be 2 calls per year as we are presently planning it, and we would cover the whole spectrum of the arts, from the visual and performing arts, including film and also literature, and of course all the shades in between, because interdisciplinary approaches are increasingly important these days. I think what I also see with Catapult, and we are friendly cousins of Catapult, is really the importance of developing a grant-making environment within the Caribbean. Right? Because as Natalie pointed out in the beginning, there are grants that are available on a national level, but they usually address very, very specific needs. There are very, very few within the region that address more regional concerns. The Caribbean Development Bank would be one such exception, but almost all the other major grants that are available for the arts come from outside of the region. So I think it is very important to have something that is driven by the needs that exist within the region. And as we can see, those needs are immense. And it also speaks to potential that is not fully developed. I think there are too many artists, too many creative producers in the Caribbean who still do not think that getting a grant is something for them. Right? That this is something to which they are somehow entitled. I was just in Puerto Rico, which has a very different funding environment because of the American connections and so on. And there is a strong culture of artists and collectives applying for grant funding. And that too is something that needs to be developed. And I think Catapult has been doing a fabulous job in terms of creating that culture, you know, that you can in fact apply for a grant, that there is a reasonable grant chance that you will be successful and that you can actually do something that is of real value to you and the broader community of which you are a part in the process. So I look forward to having the Caribbean Culture Fund join this community and being part of all of this. I forgot to send the brief that I was asked to send, but I will share it with Kingston Creative afterwards, so it can be shared with your grantees and other persons who are interested. And I also invite you to check our website. It's very simple, CaribbeanCultureFund.org, and to look out with a keen eye, because news about our launch and our first call for proposals will come very, very soon. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And we look forward to the creatives being a part of what you have shared. And if you can feel free to share the websites or links or any other connections that would be helpful to our creatives here. Thank you so much to everyone who has been a part of this beautiful networking event. Thank you to the American Friends of Jamaica who weren't able to join us this afternoon. We thank them for their support. And we thank all the creatives who were a part of this amazing initiative. Thank you to Kingston Creative and their partners for putting it together. And of course, we will invite Khadija Chang to share with us her vote of thanks for this amazing initiative and evening that we have so far. So please, Khadija, we welcome you to the spotlight.
Thank you, Tavia. And what a great session this was, guys. It was really great to hear everyone's stories and just to hear the work that you've been doing as an artist. And I think I speak for everyone when you say, you know, the initiative really has given an impact and it really has helped in some way or some form for people to really create and to have that space. So I believe Joanne Hillhouse really said it best, that artists do deserve that space to create and just to be. And I'm glad that the Catapult grant has helped in some way or some form. So with that being said, a great big thank you for everyone who showed up today, who participated in the conversation. Thank you to our lovely host, Tavia, for guiding us through. Thank you to the jurors for coming again and for all the hard work done throughout the grant. Thank you for our team and for AFJ as well. Thank you for Wendy Hart and Karen Chung who couldn't make it today. And thank you as well to Open Society Foundation for giving us the opportunity to have this grant again. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And remember that the conversation, it doesn't have to end here. In the link, I will share the Facebook link for you to join our group, to network, and just keep dropping your handles so we can collaborate and just keep the conversations going.
Thank you so much, Khadija. This was such a big virtual hug for everybody. Thank you for all of you being here and have an amazing, amazing evening. My name is Tavia. You can find me everywhere, TSK Benjamin. I'd love to connect with you as well as a creative and as an artist. So have a great evening and thank you for joining us today.